This is the Spanish Football Podcast YouTube channel. I'm Phil Kitromilides. We are in Spain and at the games, and last night we were here at the Bernabeu, the biggest game of all, the Clásico, to see Barcelona beat Real Madrid here again. It finished 3-0 to Ernesto Valverde's men, and they made it through to the Copa del Rey final. Sid Lowe is with me. Hello, Sid.
Hi, Phil.
We're going to pick out 5 talking points from the game last night. The first one, El Clásico. Has it lost its sparkle? It wasn't a great game last night in terms of a spectacle. I mean, we had 3 goals. It was exciting in part. There was a good atmosphere, but has it lost its shine?
Well, it's curious in a way to kind of even pose that question, because you're looking at another game which Barcelona have come to the Bernabeu and won 3-0, which is an extraordinary result. It's part of an ongoing run of extraordinary results here. This is a game that you go back 50 Clásicos to find the last 0-0. So in that sense, it does always deliver. And yes,
but in terms of the quality,
I know,
and yes,
there was the Copa del Rey semi-final, and again, it's exciting, and it's, you know, the winner gets through to the final. But you're right, yesterday, much more so actually than the 5-1 earlier in the season, back in October. Yes, they did feel, I don't know, you're right. It wasn't bad by any means. In fact, it was quite a good game in some ways, but it did feel like maybe we've set the bar so high, maybe the expectations are too high.
Let's move on to the second point. Vinicius Jr has exploded onto the scene for Real Madrid this season. He's been probably their best player. Last night he had a lot of chances, didn't manage to score. I saw a stat, he's had 75 shots as a Real Madrid player, and he scored 3 goals.
Well, that's not very many, in truth.
Is his lack of goal scoring capacity really harming Real Madrid, or should we cut him some slack? He's 18, it's his first season here.
No, look, exactly that. He's 18. These are the kind of things that you know, there are some things that you can't coach, I think, with players. There are some things that players have naturally, and he certainly has that, the daring, the willingness to run at people, the skill, the pace. I think there's more variety to what he does now, because to start with it was run up the line, cut inside and shoot. And I say to start with, that's only 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, in fairness, as you say, this is an 18-year-old. And it feels like we're accelerating even more than he is in terms of what we want him to do. I think Jordi Alba said something really quite good last night. He was asked about comparisons between Vinicius and Messi. Now, of course, Alba's a Barcelona player, and he would say this. He said, look, this doesn't help anyone. There's no point in comparing anyone to Messi. And actually, even from a Real Madrid perspective, that's right. Let's not hold him to those standards yet. And I think that some of the tranquility when it comes to finishing chances off, being calm, I think that probably will come with games. That probably will come with opportunities and experience. Obviously, some of that will be coached, and Santi Solari was asked about this last night. But no, I would much rather hold on to how well he played last night than hold on to the chances of miss, because, by the way, last night probably the very clearest chance was actually missed by Benzema, not by him anyway. Alright,
point 3, you mentioned him, Messi. Barcelona won last night without Messi playing particularly well. They beat Real Madrid 5-1 earlier this season without Messi. They drew 1-1 with them at the Camp Nou, with Messi coming on as a half-time substitute. So there's been a lot of talk of Messi dependencia, or Messi being the crucial man for Barcelona, but they've had some big results without him.
Well, they had the 4-0 here pretty much without him. He came on as a late substitute when he was coming back from that injury. What's that, 2 years ago now? I think what you get sometimes when you have a player that's that brilliant, I think he ends up conditioning everyone else. Now, obviously, on the face of it, and we've said this loads of times, if your tactic is give the ball to Leo Messi, it's a pretty good tactic most of the time. But actually, obviously, at times, it denies you some of the variety you've got. It denies a role as protagonist for some of the other players who are very, very good footballers, even though, obviously, not quite at his level. And I think at times there is a problem with Barcelona looking for him too much. And perhaps games like this will help others take some responsibility. So, for example, you get the pass into Suarez. Right, there you go. Instead of looking necessarily for Messi, you get the ball up the other wing, again, into the box, rather than necessarily looking to come back to Messi. And I think that can only be a good thing for Barcelona. Obviously, all of this within the context of a reality, which is Messi is still miles ahead of everyone else, pretty much anywhere.
All right, point 4, talking about another player, but also talking about the manager. Ousmane Dembele was really important for Barcelona here last night. A few months ago, there was a lot of talk about him, a lot of controversy, a lot of off-the-field antics. Credit to him for his performance, but also, I guess, to the manager, Ernesto Valverde, for sticking with him and making him put in these good performances.
And manage a difficult scenario. I mean, we had a situation in which Barcelona were publicly admitting that he was oversleeping, publicly admitting that he wasn't training well. And, you know, when a club goes public in a scenario like that, it suggested something really quite seriously wrong. Now, ultimately, Dembele wasn't being accused of really terrible things, but the fact that it came out, the way that it was expressed by the players, tells you that they really wanted to find a solution to this and were worried that there might not be one. So in that sense, to say, yeah, it's been handled quite well. It's curious though, I mean, purely on the basis of last night, there were periods of the game when Dembele really wasn't very good. There were periods of the game too, by the way, when Suarez really wasn't very good, and yet those two ultimately win the match.
Finally, Barcelona through to the Copa del Rey final for a 6th successive season. No one's ever done that before. I don't think anyone's ever going to do that again. It's incredible.
It is incredible. Yeah, I mean, on the face of it, it sort of feels like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And in fact, Gerard Piqué last night was asked about the final. He said, well, now that we're here. So now that we're here, and he sort of said something similar after the first leg defeat against Sevilla. He said, well, if we can turn this around, great. If we can't, well,
we'll do it next year. Yeah.
And there is, I think part of the problem is that when a team is consistently successful, it can end up looking easier than it really is. Now, Copa del Rey is a short competition. It is true that if you get a good draw, you can get to the final without doing a huge amount, in truth. And you know, Madrid had got to this stage last night with, what was it, Leganés, Melilla and Girona. I mean, you know, to get to the semi-final, it's not a massively difficult run, but yeah, 6 in a row is extraordinary.
Incredible. Congratulations to Barcelona through to the Copa del Rey final. Listen, we go a lot more in depth on this on our Patreon, so check us out, patreon.com/TSFP, and make sure you subscribe here. Much more content coming up on our YouTube channel.